Hello everyone, first news update for 12th of March. Now it's 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news about some major developments, and hopefully you will find this video informative and useful. And well, that's been said, let's go through some news now. And first of all, this report from RIA Novosti, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that overnight, early hours of this morning, air defense systems on duty intercepted 21 Ukrainian drones that were launched to strike deep into Russian territory. 12 drones were intercepted over the Bryansk region. Also, 2 drones were intercepted over the Kursk region, 1 drone each over the territories of Kaluga region and the Republic of Crimea. 5 drones were intercepted over the Black Sea. There are no reports about casualties or more or less significant damage for this moment, or if any update on that. Of course, I will share additional information in the next update and on my Telegram and Twitter X pages. Also, we are receiving reports about Russian long-range strikes against the military and the logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime during the nighttime. And according to reports, explosions were heard in Kyiv, Kharkov, Kryvyi Rog, Dnipropetrovsk, Odessa, a number of other areas. There are no specifics what exactly was targeted and how effective this long-range strike was. Most likely during the day we will receive some update on this topic also. Meanwhile, obviously, Russian media and public pays huge attention to developments in the Kursk salient direction, where Russian armed forces and Rosguardia are conducting counter-terrorist operation. And for example, we are receiving yesterday in the second update, I did share latest for that moment, so I would not repeat that information. I'll give you new informations that was published this morning. So we have this report that Russian militaries are basically surrounded Sudzha almost from all sides, and Sudzha is of course the biggest town that was occupied by Kyiv regimes and NATO mercenaries invading forces in Kursk salient area. Also, we have this report from TASS news agency that active assault operations are underway inside the Sudzha. The Russian military is conducting active assault operations in the town of Sudzha, Kursk region. This was reported to TASS news agency. In the Russian law enforcement agencies, we have a quote here: all night or at night, the fighting for Sudzha continued, and now our fighters are actively attacking the enemy forces inside the city. Also, we have this report that the garrison of the armed forces of Ukraine in the city of Sudzha, Kursk region, now amounts to several thousand people. This was reported to TASS in very same law enforcement agencies, and this number will probably grow further in upcoming hours, because Kyiv regime's forces are retreating from all over Kursk salient area and are concentrating in Sudzha in a hope that they will manage to escape to Kyiv-controlled Sumy region from western flank of Sudzha. But I don't think they're gonna be successful in these attempts. As you can see, dear friends, from Kursk salient area, almost nothing is left at this point. Dozens of settlements were liberated by Russian armed forces in the last 48 to 72 hours. Clearing operation is underway in the fields, in the forested areas between the settlements. And when it comes to Sudzha itself, latest reports are that Russian armed forces established control over the eastern part of the Sudzha, although the Defense Ministry of Russia did not yet confirm this information, but independent sources are reporting that eastern part of Sudzha is under full Russian control, and moreover, Russian forward units entered the western part of Sudzha and established control over their central market and surrounding areas. This is central market, by the way, that located in the western part of Sudzha, and quite possibly, at this moment when I'm recording these updates, Russian troops already reached the central area of the western Sudzha. It is difficult to say how longer this counter-terrorist operation will continue to liberate not just the Sudzha but entire territory that still is under control of Kyiv regime, but most likely operation will be finalized before end of this week. As I already reported in previous updates, a number of Kyiv regime's forces, units, are trying chaotically to retreat towards Sumy region, mainly on foot, because they know, majority of them know at least, that all the roads are under strict Russian fire control and they cannot move freely on in the columns or with the vehicles. So majority is trying to escape on foot, but still they have heavy casualties. They're experiencing heavy casualties, and very few from these units are actually managing to escape. And because of this high concentration of Kyiv regime's forces now in the western part of Sudzha and few villages that connect Sudzha with the Sumy region, obviously this finalizing of this operation, clearing operation, will take some time, but yet again, most likely before end of this week, there will be no more troops of enemy in the Kursk salient area. Entire this territory will be liberated. I expect hundreds of military personnel of Kyiv regime to lay down arms and surrender in Sudzha itself. Let's see if my reading of the situation in this area is correct. In any ways, huge success, obviously, for Russian armed forces that we are observing in last several days, and absolute disaster for Kyiv regime. This Kursk salient was always a trap of their own making for a Kyiv regime, and Russian armed forces decimated their most capable brigades of Zelensky's regime in this area. But last several days definitely nailed was their last nail in a coffin of this armored group of Kyiv regime that was trained and armed by NATO, especially for this Kursk offensive. That's been said, let's continue with some more news, and we have this report from RIA Novosti about war crimes that was committed by Kyiv regime's forces and the NATO mercenaries in Kursk salient area. When Russian troops liberated, for example, Cherkasskaya Porechная settlement, they find bodies of tortured and executed civilians in this settlement, and I'm afraid such war crimes and crimes against humanity that was committed by Kyiv regime's forces will be discovered in all the other settlements that Russian armed forces liberated. Obviously, once territory is safe enough, law enforcement officers will enter these settlements. Maybe they already are conducting investigation. Maybe they already are in these settlements, and I'm afraid in upcoming days we will receive information about more and more atrocities that Kyiv regime's troops were committing in the Kursk salient area. Unfortunately, many civilians were unable to escape from their settlements when Kyiv regime was conducting initial phase of this invasion. And unfortunately, it is highly likely that majority of their civilians that were unable to escape was then killed, tortured and killed by these Ukrainian Nazis and the terrorists and their NATO mercenaries. That's been said. Also seems like panic is settled in not just in Kyiv regime's forces that are still located in the Kursk salient, in Sudzha and few settlements around it, but on western side of it, but also in the Kyiv regime itself. And as a confirmation of that, we have this report, which is based on statements of Ukrainian MP Maria Bizugler, who is saying that head of Kyiv regime's general staff, Alexander Syrsky, fired or dismissed Major General Dmitry Krasilnikov, who was in charge of Kursk direction, according to reports, and If true, this information they definitely can be seen as attempt on part of Syrskyi and also Zelensky, because Syrskyi is a member of Zelensky's camp, to avoid the responsibility for a Kursk disaster and to appoint a scapegoat. And seems like one of these scapegoats will be this major general of Kiev regime, Krasilnikov. Against him, Russian law enforcement agencies opened a criminal case in September last year for crimes that was committed by troops under his command in the Kursk region. And therefore, I can only hope that one day the Russian law enforcement agencies will bring this criminal and the terrorist to justice, and all the others, by the way, in a hierarchy of the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. But this information clearly can be seen as an indicator of the panic inside the Kiev regime also, not just in armed forces of the Kiev regime. Hello everyone, if you find this video interesting and useful, please click that like button, leave some commentary and share with your friends. If you like my work and want to support this project, you can do it through several means. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, including links to my Patreon and Boosty pages, where you can have access to full shows in case you are interested. Thank you.